Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, but more specifically on the altcoin markets, because if we come here to CoinMarketCap and you start scrolling down, what you are going to see is a plethora of different altcoins which are retraced quite substantially from their all-time high. If you come to the website ATH Coin Index, you sort by change from all-time high and you start scrolling down, what you are going to see there's a lot of altcoins that are retraced in between 70 to 90% from their all-time high. If we zoom down here, what we're going to see, one example is XRP. XRP, the number 3 cryptocurrency, a cryptocurrency worth about $11 billion, is retraced 93%, 92% from its all-time high. So when we see a lot of these assets, in this case, these altcoins retrace so far from their all-time high, the natural next question that you must ask is, are we entering a good time to be investing in these altcoins? Because I've talked about in other videos as to why I believe these altcoins are going to return to their all-time high and beyond. Of course, that is on an altcoin to altcoin basis. Some of them are crap, but the ones that I do believe have good utility value and do actually have a use case and an implementation, etc., 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 will be going back to their all-time high and further beyond. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing if some of these altcoins are entering a good time to be investing in them, and we're also going to be talking about the altcoin space in a more general way. But before we get into today's video, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, as always, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel if you do it, and I would be appreciative if you did it. But without much further ado, let's get right into it. We are going to kick off the video with a little bit of short-term technical analysis on Bitcoin before getting into the altcoin rant. Not a whole lot to talk about on Bitcoin, so we're going to be brief. If you want my full opinion on the Bitcoin pullback that we've seen here in the last 72 hours or so, and Bitcoin attempting to get support at this long-term downtrend, you can do so by watching the video up in the top right. I go into detail there. We're going to be brief here, though. Bitcoin is currently trading around $6,450, and on the hourly chart, mostly sideways price action is what we see, is trading down here around this downtrend. Not a whole lot to look at here on the hourly chart, but if we look on the daily chart, I do want to point out one oscillator down here. That would be the stochastic RSI. The stochastic RSI is pulling down dangerously close to oversold territory, which is definitely a bullish sign for Bitcoin. Typically, when stochastic RSI comes down into oversold territory, which give it another 48 hours and we will be properly down into it, that's typically a buy signal for Bitcoin, and typically that does mean that we're going to see some upside coming. And the way that I would interpret that is that we may be seeing some form of bounce coming, whether or not that's a dead cat bounce or not. We discussed that in yesterday's video. You can go see my opinion there. But anyway, like I said, not a whole lot to write home about with Bitcoin today, so let's get into the crypto market recap. Bitcoin is, like I said, trading around $6,450 or so, give or take a couple dozen dollars, depending on the exchange you're looking at. But total market volume for Bitcoin over the last 24 hours is looking to be around $4.2 billion, and it's down by about 0.71% over the last 24 hours. Now, this is something that you would kind of expect of Bitcoin when it is getting support on a downtrend. It is getting support while also going down, and also a 1% move isn't really anything that important. One thing we do want to look at as far as percentage moves are concerned is the altcoin market in general. We do see one double-digit green here. We see Hollow being up over 10%, but the vast majority of the altcoins are red today, especially not including the 2 stable coins. We only see 8 cryptocurrencies that are in the green from Decred to Hollow, and the rest of the altcoin market is in the red. Now, granted, it's not a very deep red. We only see 3 double-digit losers, so it's not exactly the end of the world. We're not exactly seeing the second coming of Christ or anything when it comes to the altcoins. But the fact of the matter is the altcoins are down. I made that a little bit more dramatic than perhaps it needed to be. Anyway, we also want to talk about Ethereum, and we are going to be doing some individual technical analysis on these 4 and a couple of others that I want to be pointing out later on in the video. But before we get into that, I want to go to the Bitcoin dominance chart and discuss a little bit about what my opinion is on where I believe the altcoins are going to be moving over the next couple of months and on into the rest of 2018 and into early 2019, because I think it's very, very important for us to get an idea of where the overall altcoin market in general is going. Because one thing that we, of course, have noticed in the altcoin market is that typically the altcoins all follow each other. Now, of course, altcoins have different, they do have their own price movements, and they are individual cryptocurrencies and blah, 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 blah. Typically, the altcoins will move together, and that's one thing that we have to keep in mind. So in the beginning of this video, before we get into the individual technical analysis, we're going to be discussing the altcoin market in general. And something very, very interesting that I think is definitely pertinent to the altcoin market and the story of the altcoins is the Bitcoin dominance. One thing that I want to point out here on the Bitcoin dominance chart, this upper line right here up on this graph represents Bitcoin's dominance. And one thing that we saw right here, very interesting, Bitcoin's dominance has gradually been creeping up over 2018, but we did see one exception, and that was right here in the month of April. In the month of April, Bitcoin's dominance pulled back from 85% down here to around 35%. And that is an interesting trend because that correlated with an uptrend on Bitcoin's price action chart. That started right over here and ended right over here. So what we saw is perhaps a little bit coincidentally, if you only look at it on a surface level, not coincidentally, a little bit of interestingly, if you only look at it on a surface level, you can go away. Sorry about that. is that Bitcoin's dominance has been retracing while Bitcoin had actually been going up in price action. Now that might seem a little weird, but the reason that happened, in my opinion anyway, is that as Bitcoin was going up, one thing you have to keep in mind about this rally here is that Bitcoin had just set a higher low. We saw 6,000 as the low, then we saw a higher low. Bitcoin was starting to go up, and I can tell you from memory, people were very, very bullish on this run. Unfortunately, we did cap out at $10,000, and that was not the end of the bear market like some people thought it was. But nevertheless, there was a lot of exuberance here, and there was a lot more risk taking, and a lot of people were putting their valuation. They were taking it out of Bitcoin and putting it back into cryptocurrency, into altcoins. And one example is this other chart right here, this upper line right here, which in this case, when it peaked out up here around 27%, represented pretty much any other altcoin that is not represented here by something on my tooltip. But a lot of people were taking a lot more risks in the hopes of getting much higher returns when Bitcoin was going on this second rally of 2018 right here in all of April actually. So we saw Bitcoin's dominance go down, and ever since then we've seen Bitcoin's dominance continue to rise, which is another interesting trend, because what we saw in the last couple of months is that Bitcoin has seen two more rallies. We saw a rally right here, and we saw a rally right here. In this rally, people were very, very confident. In this rally, people weren't as confident, although there was definitely a lot more confidence than there is now. And in this rally, a lot of people have been thinking this was a dead cat bounce, and indeed we did curve over from around $7,400. That rally is not necessarily over yet, but it's certainly not looking good. And an interesting thing shows up on the market dominance chart. We didn't see the market dominance drop on those two rallies the same way that we did on the first rally. And in my opinion, that's because people weren't trusting of that Bitcoin rally, and they weren't trusting that the Bitcoin bull market was going to come back in a big way, and they weren't trusting that the altcoins were going to deliver, so they kept their money in what they would perceive as a less risky investment, that of course being Bitcoin. Because what you also have to understand is that a lot of people treat Bitcoin, including myself, I do this also, a lot of people treat Bitcoin as if it were a stable coin. I could not care less what the US dollar valuation of my portfolio is. I care what the Bitcoin valuation is, and the reason for that is because I have absolutely no interest in cashing out any of my investments for a very long time. I just don't care. I'm much more interested in what they're worth in Bitcoin, and a lot of people share the same sentiment. So when the Bitcoin dominance is continuing to rise, that of course means the altcoin valuations are continuing to decline, and Bitcoin is continuing to rise, and that's a very, very important thing, and it's a very important trend to keep in mind when we're talking about the altcoin market, because this does hamper the growth of the altcoin market. And that's really why I'm bringing this up, is because this is an underlying trend that we need to keep in mind when we're doing technical analysis on the altcoins, because the altcoins are inherently at a disadvantage because they're not the top dog that is Bitcoin. And that's why we've seen so many of these altcoins, even a number 3 altcoin that's worth $11 billion like XRP, able to lose 93% of its valuation despite it being number 3, despite it being a major cryptocurrency. It is still nevertheless taking a massive, massive beating. And one of the reasons that the altcoins are doing so poorly is because Bitcoin is the one that is able to retain its value because it's the big dog. Anyway, I think I've made my point very, very clear with that, guys. So let's go ahead and get on to the individual technical analysis. Let's start with Ethereum, which is currently trading at around $219, around $220. Guys, I'm going to be brief on some of these altcoins because there's not a whole lot to talk about. Many of the altcoin markets move in a very, very similar fashion to each other, and overall, there's just generally not a whole lot to write home about. But Ethereum is one that I do want to talk about because $220 or so is a very reminiscent price of right around the time that I got into Bitcoin and crypto, actually. I got into Bitcoin and crypto back over where it'd be right about over here at the end of June in 2017. And Ethereum was trading at around $200. And there's not really anything all that important about $200 other than the fact that $200 is a big even. It has 2 zeros in it. It would be considered a big even on the Ethereum chart. But there's really no reason to believe that $200 is necessarily going to hold, guys. And that's what I want to kind of make. That's the kind of the point that I want to make here, guys, is that I do see the bottom in sight for these altcoins. And I do think that if you're looking to buy altcoins and hold on to them for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you think they do have good utility value, and you do think they can deliver, and you do think they have a good blah, 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 you think they're a good altcoin, in short, if you think they're a good altcoin and you're looking to hold on to them for the long term, and like I said, by the long term, I mean at least until the next bull run, perhaps into the bull run after that with another bear cycle that we haven't even seen yet, if you're looking to hold the altcoin for that long, I think these are phenomenal times to be buying altcoins. With that said, I don't necessarily think the bottom is in. And I know those two things sound like they contradict each other, but they don't, because I don't know if the bottom is in. The bottom very well may be 2 minutes ago. The bottom may have come in already. I don't know. What I do believe is much more likely than the bottom not being in is that Ethereum and a lot of these other altcoins that are genuinely good projects will go on a bull run in the future. And if you're buying now and you hold on into that bull run, you're going to be making a lot of money. At least that is my opinion. Ethereum at $200 is a very, very good investment, and I do, if you're holding it for the long term, I have to make that very, very clear because some people do get confused when I say that. I do think that $219 is a very good time to be buying Ethereum. Does that mean Ethereum cannot go lower? Absolutely not. I think the possibility of Ethereum and many of these other altcoins going much, much lower is definitely something to be keeping in mind. I'm not going to put a percentage on that, but I think it's definitely something to be keeping in mind. Is $200 the bottom for Ethereum? Not totally sure, guys. I don't want to make any calls here because I'm not totally sure. I don't think Ethereum is necessarily going to be setting a bottom at $200. One thing that we can look at are some of the oscillators down here. If we look at the weekly chart, what we do see is that Ethereum's stochastic RSI and RSI are both down in historical lows, which would indicate a new rally coming. We saw Ethereum's stochastic RSI pull down into oversold region, and then from there we saw Ethereum bounce from $400 up to around $850. Right now we're seeing Ethereum's stochastic RSI in a very, very similar region, and hopefully we do see a bounce from here. It would make sense for the altcoins to have some kind of a bounce from here because they've been trending downwards so very rapidly for so very long. It would make sense for them to see some kind of a bounce. Whether or not we're seeing the absolute bottom in these yet, not totally sure, of course. One thing we also want to look at is normal RSI on Ethereum. It is definitely getting down here into oversold territory. It's sitting down here around 35 right now, around 33 really. Definitely something to keep in mind for Ethereum because Ethereum and many of these other altcoins are extremely oversold, which is of course the contrary to the way that they were extremely overbought in the beginning of this year. Anyway, moving on, I'm going to be brief on some of these altcoins like XRP because XRP, basically everything that I just said about Ethereum, translate to XRP. That's my opinion on XRP. The same thing is true for the stochastic RSI and normal RSI on the weekly charts. They're very overextended down here, and I am expecting some kind of a bounce to come. Whether or not the actual bottom is in yet, not totally sure, but I do think that they do have room to continue going lower simply because as Bitcoin continues its bear market, which I don't think we're out of the woods yet on Bitcoin, I think a bull market is I think just about any time a bull market could be 1 month away or so. But at the time being, especially after what we saw in the last 72 hours or so, in the last week, this big pullback, I think what the most likely scenario for Bitcoin is that Bitcoin trades sideways above $6,000 or somewhere around $6,000 for the next 6 months or so, moving into an accumulation phase at the tail end of this bear market. And as that happens, I don't see a lot of people investing in altcoins when they could instead be investing in what they perceive as a less risky investment like Bitcoin. With that said, for that reason, I don't think the bottom is necessarily in for these altcoins. And like I said, just about everything I said for Ethereum translated to XRP. What we see right here is that XRP has set kind of a double bottom down here at around 27 cents. That's definitely something to look at that would kind of serve as a good level of support for XRP. But also one thing that we have to remember with XRP is it did have a very strong level of support up here at 44 cents, which it did break. Definitely not something that we wanted to see, guys. Moving on to Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is also trying to set a very strong bottom down here, right around $500. $500 is a very strong big even. That's halfway in between $0 and $1,000. So that's kind of a semi-big even. That's really just a normal big even for Bitcoin Cash. $500 is definitely a psychological level of support that a lot of people I think are going to be looking at. And I think in contrast to the way Ethereum and XRP are looking at levels of support, I think that's probably going to be a little bit stronger of a level of support for Bitcoin Cash, simply because that's such a big, strong, even level. Same thing is true for stochastic RSI and RSI as we talked about on the other charts, as is true for Bitcoin Cash. EOS is a very interesting one. EOS doesn't really have the same things that can be said about it. Now, one thing I do want to keep in mind is that some of the same things that we just said about all of the other altcoins also translate to EOS, stochastic RSI, and RSI are oversold, but there are some other things that we want to look at on the daily chart. One thing that we want to look at on the daily chart is that EOS has set some pretty strong support down here in this $4 to $5 region, which does serve as historical levels of support back over here in March. EOS is probably more than likely going to be setting at least more of a, not so much of a temporary bottom right here. I am quite bullish on the EOS project, and one of the things also to keep in mind is that EOS has gotten its traction during the bear market. EOS has not been let go during a bull market. We haven't seen what EOS can do in a bull market in the same way we've seen what Ethereum can do in a bull market. I think EOS is probably going to be a very, very strong player for the next bull market, simply because, not just because, but also one of the reasons is because so many people have not seen what EOS can do in a bull market. We've seen what EOS can do in a bear market. It can run from $4 to $24 in the span of a little over 2 months, or not even 2 months even. We haven't seen what it can do in a bull market, guys. I think a lot of people are bullish on EOS. That's one of the reasons that EOS has moved from wherever it was like a year ago when I first started looking at it up to number 5. I think EOS is a very good project, and I think it's probably going to be performing a little bit better than many of the other altcoins that we've talked about here today, moving on into the rest of this bear market, into the accumulation period, and on into the new bull market. There are 3 more altcoins that we want to talk about, one of which is ADA. If you guys remember to to a little over a month ago, I did take a position in ADA with the stop loss down just a little under 1,900 Satoshis. I think it was at like 1,800 Satoshis. I forgot what the exact trade was, but I was hoping that this double bottom at around 2,000 Satoshis was going to hold. I don't remember. I think my buy was at 2,000 and my stop loss was at 1,900. Obviously, that stop loss got triggered, and Cardano has been moving down. It's currently at around 1,300 Satoshis and doesn't really have a very well-defined bottom in sight. We don't really have any historical price action, at least on the Binance chart that we can look at, that would indicate that there is a bottom in sight, really. And if we look back over here on other charts, we do see a little bit of price action over here at around 1,250 Satoshis. If we look back on an older chart like on Bittrex, we do see a little bit of price action over here that it could potentially be getting support on. Definitely a level that Cardano could be getting a support on, but same thing is true for Cardano, just like a lot of the other altcoins, guys. That's why I don't do that's why I don't do altcoin technical analysis videos all that often. It's because a lot of the altcoins they rhyme quite a lot, and they typically tend to tell you the very similar thing. And I think a very similar thing is true for Cardano, as is true for many of the other altcoins. It's trying to set a bottom here. Will it be able to set a bottom here? We're going to have to see, guys. I think this is an amazing time to be buying into these altcoins if you're looking to buy them for the very long term. As far as if you're looking to buy and hold them for the next 3 to 6 months, or even for the next 3 to 6 weeks, or the next 3 to 6 days, I don't really think that's a great idea. Moving on, I want to talk about NEO and XLM, and then we're going to wrap the video up. NEO is a very interesting one because NEO over Bitcoin is setting a nice bottom down here around 2.2 million Satoshis. Excuse me, I believe that's 220,000 Satoshis right down here. We see NEO is trying to set a bottom down here, and it has been curving up for the last couple of weeks. Not very drastically, but definitely something that we can get a little bit excited about. Not really anything to get very excited about, but it's much better than what we've seen NEO do for pretty much all of 2018. NEO was a big power player in 2017, guys. I remember buying NEO at, what was it, $17, selling it at $30, and I was very, very happy about that. And then it went to its all-time high, I forgot what it was for NEO, like $160, and I felt a little cheated. But anyway, you live and you learn. But we haven't seen NEO do very well for 2018, so it is nice to see NEO trying to set a bottom and at least generally curving up here. It is currently above the 20 daily EMA, which is definitely something we've talked about in the past. We like seeing cryptocurrencies get above their 20 daily EMA because that's typically a very bullish sign for them, and it looks like NEO is attempting to do that right now. Whether or not NEO will be able to retain this bullish price action and turn this over and roll this over into something else, time will tell, guys. It's hard to do a lot of speculation on these altcoins when they've just been crashing so dramatically like they have been for the last several months. Same thing is true on stochastic RSI and RSI for NEO as it is for many of the other altcoins. So you guys have already heard 5 times what I have to say about that. The last one that I want to talk about is XLM. And XLM, Stellar Lumens, number 6 on the cryptocurrency market on CoinMarketCap, is an interesting one because XLM is one of those cryptocurrencies that finally breaks the mold, and it finally does something interesting because many of these other altcoins have been very boring and they've all been doing exactly the same thing. EOS is kind of an outlier. It's been doing kind of its own thing. XLM is another one of them. One thing that we want to look at with XLM is that it's currently in a gigantic pennant pattern. It's in a gigantic consolidation pattern. We see the downtrend right here and we see the uptrend right here, a very clearly defined consolidation pattern. And recently in the last couple of days, XLM has gotten a little bit of support down here, which is definitely a very strong, is a very good thing for XLM. It's a very good thing for the Stellar Lumens community, and it's definitely something good for price action. Currently, Lumens is trying to get back up above the 20 daily EMA. As you can see, we're currently trading just under it. If we could get back up above that, that would be a good, that would definitely be some price strength confirmation, and we could perhaps see XLM curving back up to this long-term downtrend. I'll tell you what I'm doing, guys. I've been watching XLM for a very long time, watching to see if it gets above this long-term downtrend. When it was setting, when it was moving these wixes back up here, I was setting tentative buy orders, and I was taking tentative positions in Stellar Lumens with very tight stop losses, trying to catch a breakout of this long-term consolidation pattern. And when we do see a confirmed breakout of this, I'm definitely going to be buying some Lumens, guys, because I think we're going to see a gigantic break of this. I could easily see the Lumens breaking into the top 5 simply from a movement like that. Lumens, finally, to wrap up the video, is one of the other altcoins that does actually have something interesting to talk about. But anyway, guys, if you have anything interesting to talk about, that's what the comment section is for, guys. I do read every single comment, and I do love reading the comments, especially when you guys aren't assholes to me like you have been in the last couple of videos. I'm just kidding, of course. Those aren't the normal viewers, and the people that are being jerks didn't watch this far to the end of the video. If you did watch this far to the end of this video, I want to thank you very, very much for watching. If you guys want to support the channel, I haven't showed Binance in a little while, but I'm going to in this video because I haven't in a little while. Binance is one of my favorite cryptocurrency exchanges, guys. As you can see, we're looking at the Binance chart right here. If you use the link in the description down below to sign up for Binance, not only will you be getting access to one of the greatest cryptocurrency exchanges, in my opinion, the best cryptocurrency exchange in the cryptocurrency market that I personally use and I can personally vouch for, you'll also be helping to support the channel while doing so with every single transaction and every single trading fee. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I think we've covered pretty much everything we want to talk about with the Stellar Lumens, with the altcoin market. And I think we've gotten a little caught back up on what we wanted to talk about as far as the altcoin market is concerned. I do believe that the altcoins definitely are going to do very, very well in the next bull run. But whether or not they're going to be doing very well in the next couple of months, time is going to tell. I'm much more bullish on Bitcoin than I am on the altcoins. With that said, I am looking to buy long-term positions on these altcoins, although I'm trying to find more definitive bottoms before I do so. With that said, I do believe just about every single altcoin that you believe is going to last for the next 5 to 10 years is a very good buy for right now. But of course, being a trader and an investor, I always want to look for a better buy. So with that in mind, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!